In this video, I will show you 7 really big beginner mistakes, and actually not only beginner mistakes, it's mistakes we all do from time to time. So watch this video till the end and really you will learn what to avoid, what will ruin your track and how you can make it better. If you want to get expert feedback on your track, then you can send me your track, but don't send it over like SoundCloud, Instagram or anything else. I will put a link up here and down in the description box below. And there you get instructions how you can send me your track. And then in the live stream, I will give you feedback on your track. So let's start with the easy things. So point number 1 is being unorganized. Being organized is really important for your music journey. And why? Because if you're organized, you do things much faster with less failure, and so you're reaching your goal sooner. So let me go a little bit about what that means. So first thing is learn the important shortcuts. Because with the shortcuts, you will move really fast through your project. You can print out a list of all Ableton shortcuts from their homepage. I will put a link down in the description, and then you just take a text marker and you mark those ones you used. And with time you will kind of like fill this sheet, or alternatively you can just take a blank page of paper and then write down the most important shortcuts until you really learned them by heart. This will really double or triple the speed of your workflow. The next thing is organization here in your user library. So for example, I have here my favorites, I have here artistic effects, processing effects, my favorite synths and everything in here. And actually I need to reorganize this list as it's not really on time anymore. I could throw out a lot of those already here and add some new ones. Also here down in the user library, I try to store like important stuff I reuse for drums, mixing, leads, kick and bass and whatever, and I will reorganize my whole user library soon in the future because I know how important it is, and I'm also procrastinating on it, but I swear you guys, if you do that, your workflow will be so much faster and you will be producing so much more music. The same goes for projects. As you see, I name my projects, so I even saved a separate version now for this YouTube video here, and I really say which key is it. Usually I put also the BPM in here. I might forgot it here. I put the date in here. I put like a name for it, or here's the name in that case here. And I put versioning in here so that I can progress version until I finish the project. And then I delete all the versions I don't need. And why I do delete all the versions I don't need? Because then you can go to manage files and also delete the files you don't need anymore in that project. It's really valuable if you do that process, because then you can go back and you don't lose your stuff. Also about losing your stuff, even this happens even to like very big artists. Back up your stuff, so have like a separate hard drive or maybe like a cloud service for doing that. So really keep your stuff very organized. If you haven't liked this video so far, then please hit the thumbs up button. That helps me to spread this video and also shows me which topics you guys are interested in. Point number 2 is, and I see this is really a beginner mistake, because if you're going more into pro direction, you can definitely do that. But even a lot of pros don't do all of it. So what I'm talking about is that you try to do everything on your own. So you want to create a kick, you want to create a bass, you want to create your own presets, you want to do the mixing, you want to do the mastering. And of course, as you're a beginner, you will fail in all of those and you will have a very hard time learning because you're not focusing really on one topic. As a suggestion, if you still want to do everything on your own, why not try to focus each month on one topic where you really dive a little bit deeper. Anyways, I want to advise you that you nail down on the things which are the most important in the beginning. So most important in the beginning is leads and arrangement, because that is what defines your track. Nobody will care if you put a riser in there from a sample. Nobody will care if you put a kick and bass and drum groove, which you can get, by the way, in my shop and support this channel. I will put a link in the description down here and up here. So there's a really great pack where you can start your tracks. Nobody will care if you program your own synthesizers and Max for Live devices, and nobody really will care if you do your own mastering. Just said, all of this can be really valuable the more you progress in your musical journey, because the more you go into different topics, the more you will get insight, which will also influence other parts of your music. So just saying, as I said this in another video, I started a little bit with mastering, but not because I want to master my tracks, because I want to learn more for mixing my tracks. But in the beginning, I see this as a huge mistake to go about everything. In the beginning, I would take a kick and a bass sample and start with that, and also use a lot of samples for like risers and all the kind of like not so important stuff which is not so recognizable in your track, and really focus on the essence, on what will make you as an artist, your style basically. So your uniqueness, your unique selling property as an artist, which really differentiates you. Focus on that, because then also you will, over time, when you expand your vision and start with other fields, then you will be best at this, and that's actually the most important thing you need to know. Now I will switch to my latest track, Mind Control, which you find on Beatport. I will put a link in the description below or above here, so that you can check it out. You can get it for your DJ set, and also you're supporting this channel and me on my musical journey. So first thing is here the mix. So this is the unmastered version. I just want to show you a mix is a balance of things. So usually I orientate on my kick, which is around here, sometimes a little bit more. Usually it's not less, but let's say this is the range for my kick. And then my drums are also in that range here. And a huge beginner mistake I see is that people have way too much low end, too heavy kick and bass. So check this out. When I play this, where my meters are. And then when we get to the drums. And my leads sit nicely here in between. They can go up here. But that's a really important thing. Which I consider as a failure, is having no balance in the mix, and especially the low end, because what I experience a lot is more like that. So, and then everything starts sounding dull if you have that. So really take care that you have a balanced mix, and there's a range for everything. There's different styles. You can make the leads a little louder, a little bit less loud. You can make the drums more aggressive, a little bit less aggressive. You can make the bass more fat. Always think that everything comes with a disadvantage as well. So if you increase one thing, it lowers another thing. So you always need to find the range which is in your taste the best, but you really use reference tracks for that, and see how they do it, like reference tracks you like, and then you can basically steal their mix and bring it into your own mixing concept here. But that's a thing I see a lot when people send me tracks. So this is like crazy, I think, that people have this like super huge low end. And I believe it comes from having maybe not so good studio monitors, which I also didn't have when I started out with music. I had like smaller monitors, and they probably replicate the low end a little bit worse, and then people, I think, just crank up the gain until they hear the bass and everything. So that's really important to not overdo this. So have like a limit for your kick, and look at a reference track, how they have done it, and then try to replicate this balance spectrum, and especially take care at the low end. If you aren't subscribed to this channel yet, then please hit the subscribe button, and if you hit the bell notification, then you will get notifications whenever a new video is coming out, and then you can decide if that's a topic which will really propel you and bring you forward in your music production, and then you can watch it. By the way, the second biggest point when it comes to low end, which I see, is an inconsistent low end. And what does this mean? Have something in their kicks creation or in the bass creation which leads to having different audio in the end. So the easiest way actually to check this is bounce your kick and bass into audio and then see if there's differences. And usually it occurs in the bass. As you see, in the end I use here everywhere audio channels, and the reason for that is because they're more reliable. So there's sometimes things in your synthesizer, I don't know what, but sometimes they put out different stuff. So I have, for example, especially in the Ana 2, I noticed that it sometimes shifts the first bass note on time, and the other ones are a little bit delayed, which probably comes from like release leaking into the next note. So what I would recommend you for getting a stable kick and bass is just bounce it to audio and copy it across your whole project and you're safe. So I bounce it every single note here, and then I chop it together in audio, and then I consolidate it again, and then I copy it across the whole project. You can still keep this for experimenting, for like trying different bass melodies and everything, so that you're not like fiddling all the time around with the audio, but really try to get like a stable low end everywhere. And that's where actually the third component of low end errors comes in, is you want to reserve the space in the low end for the kick and bass. So make sure that you have EQs on everything where your kick and bass is playing. So I usually have them, for example, in the leads channel here, right here. If you have a section where you don't have kick and bass playing, you want to have the lead, the low, and then you can still automate that. But I think it's actually more safe to just put it on the group. Don't put it too aggressively on the group, and then you can still add one in each channel if it's required. But be very religious about keeping your low end free of distractions and free of changing it all the time. So the only thing where you want to have your low end changing is if you filter it out at the end of some section, but you don't want to have it like increasing everywhere and going down here, and that's like really horrible in trance and Psytrance. So that's something you want to avoid, and which I see on almost every track I listen to, which people sent to me. It wasn't quite long ago that I was in the same spot as you guys. So about like 2-3 years ago, my tracks were not even listenable. Believe me, it was really crap, and people also said it's bad when I posted it somewhere, and I really know how it feels when you don't reach where you want to go. And that's why I want to give something to you. I want to help you guys, and I will make a special live program for beginner Psytrance producers, or for any Psytrance producer who hasn't really gotten streams or released at a label or charted in the Beatport charts or anything like that. If you want to reach that, then I have exactly the formula for you guys. Because as mentioned, not long ago I was at the same spot, and I really want to share what I have learned from all the online videos, the masterclasses, the mentors I had, the coaches, and I want to give it back to the community and teach you now how to do it. And if you want to take part in this, it's only one time live, so you need to be fast and you need to register at Psiger.com, join the waiting list, and once I have enough people to start the program, then I will send you out emails, and then you have to register fast because as said, it's live, so it will be only limited amount of seats. So if you want to take part in this, then register now, and then you can see and still check out if the program is something for you later. Then I want to go about a mistake in Melodies I see a lot. The first mistake in Melodies is that they are not really organized musically. What I mean by this is, in music we have, for example, scales. So this track is in E Phrygian, and you can see some of those notes here in the piano roll are green and some are not. So the green ones are the ones on the scale. You can also fold this down and you only have those notes. So in general, we want to stay in the scale. There are some exceptions, but it's above the limit of this video to go about this here. But you can say you are quite safe if you're creating notes which are on the scale for your melody. So the next thing is motives. So for example, this could be a motive. You could basically say this is like a shape in the melody, and this shapes you want to repeat. So either you want to repeat this directly, or you want to repeat this at a different position. So as you see, it's not all working here, but we could like make it work here within the scale. Of course, you can also step out of the scale sometimes, but as said, you're a little bit safer if you stay in here for the start of your musical journey maybe. And then, of course, we would add different motives. So for example, we could also have then this motive here, which we also would find then in here and whatever. So I don't know if that melody would make sense. I would need to listen to that and design it accordingly. But just saying like this could be a motive, or this could be a motive, or this could be a motive. So you want to repeat that, and then you want to also create musical phrases. So that's kind of like if you chunk up several motives and then you make like a bigger part and you repeat that, and then you have your melody at some point repeating, and that's basically how you create musical sense in melodies, I would say. So that's the first thing, how you can be more structured in your melodies. The second thing is the interaction between the melodies. So to give you an example, this is my track Mind Control, which I will link up here in the description box below so that you can check it out if you want to have it for your DJ set, or if you just want to support the channel, then you can donate and buy this track for like €1 or something to support this channel. Anyways, so what I want to show you is here, this section after the break, ignore that one we had here, is mainly 2 leads playing, and then there's another one coming in which is announced here, which is also one kind of a little bit order, is announcing things, but that's also something I don't want to go too much today. If you're interested in that, I will link to a video up here about transitions. Anyways, take a listen. So that's both like not really melodic leads, but what I want to show you is here, even though they play at the same time, sometimes, so it's not that you want to perfectly order everything, but you see like when this has like a long shot, this has a short shot here. When this has a long shot, it has like 2 short shots here. Then this has a long, there's one long. So there's not many of those long, really present ones overlapping. And here in the end, when this becomes actually a little bit more active, this one has only the delays in here. So that's not real shots, they're just from the delay here. So the point is actually, you don't only want to get order in the melody itself, you also want to get order in the mix. So for example, by placing elements kind of in time or in the mix in different ways, like frequency or front back and all those things. If you're interested about that, I will link up here to more about mixing Psytrance and also how you can create differences in your tracks. But that's actually the main 2 things about leads, why they sound messy. And a really good trick is if you have too many leads maybe in your section, that's also something I hear sometimes, then just switch leads off and see if it improves it. And if it improves it, or actually if it doesn't de-improve it, so it doesn't make it worse, then you should switch it off. So try to have as less as possible to make your story communicated. So every lead has kind of like a purpose, a part of the story, of your overall story, and you just want to have that and nothing more. And now I want to lose a last word in leads about repetition, because I advocated now a lot about repetition in the melody with the motives and the phrases and so on. But you don't want to be too repetitive in the track, because that's also a big lead mistake. I see a lot in beginner tracks that they keep like the lead for forever. So there's like the break ending, and then there's this lead like till the end. And especially they keep it like without any modulation and stuff. So you really want to have some progress in your track. It's changing stuff. Maybe you could take it away here and then you bring it back. Maybe you have some modulation to change filters and stuff, or the wavetable to make it a little bit different. You don't want to have it so much the same. So that's actually a way you can then step out and get a little bit more messy and really get your creativity a bit more into that automations and into the storytelling here to bring that apart. So to sum it up, try to have a clean concept for your lead and also how your leads work together, and then make it interesting over time. So now we have talked about mistakes with leads. I want to go a little bit more into arrangement. And the first thing I want to explain you, as we talked a lot about how to make phrases and motives, so repetition, how to actually make it then interesting again. So how do you keep it then interesting? So the thing is, as you can see here in this track, for example, you can take a lead and remove it after a while. And believe me, I see a lot of tracks people send me which start like this. You have the drop, the lead comes maybe already in the break, and it stays till the end. And especially it stays the same till the end. So you have then 48 bars or 60 whatever bars, 64 bars with the same lead telling the same story in the same appearance, which is super boring actually. You want to have some development in your track, and that's my arrangement mistake. So you want to always develop your story. It's like, I don't know if you had that in elementary school, we had like a little bit of writing stuff. So how you make a story like intro, a middle part and outro, and that you have like this peak climax thing. So it's the same with a musical track. You want to have like a climax, you want to have a moving up, you want to have something special, exciting you're building to. You can go strong in here after the drop, but then you need to make some variations. So for example, take the lead away, bring it with a new rhythmic pattern, automate your leads. Also try to make like an upward movement through the whole arrangement and also in each arrangement block. So you can do that, for example, in the arrangement block by adding risers, by making the filter moving up, by increasing the release. So there's dozens of ways how you can make an upwards feeling. So just like tweak your synth preset, for example, and see what sounds more prime time than the other thing. And or driving it into reverb would be another option. And also about the track, try to really arrange it that it gets out in the most interesting way, so that you're really building up to the strongest element in your track, that you may give the elements in a weaker version before, less strong, less dense, maybe less intensive, or maybe combinations like strong and weak element, and then later in the track you go only the strong elements or one special riff which really takes over the stage. So really try to not be boring. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a little bit like a quite easy and hard to follow advice, but ask yourself after each block in your track, is it really that interesting to keep on going like that? I don't want to go too deep about transitions and drops because it's quite a science for itself, and I have a video up here which you can watch if you want to learn more about it. But the biggest mistake I see in drops is that people make the impact before the drop and not in the drop. So what do I mean by this? So the first thing is you want to have a moment of silence, I would say, or a moment which is actually at least less than what comes after it. I see people like putting like fills and drum rolls and stuff in here, and they have this huge volume build up, and then comes the drop and sounds really wimpy because it's like you have a giant coming on stage, and then he says, now comes the strongest guy on earth, and then comes like this really little guy into the stage. That doesn't make any sense, you know. So you really want to build up the energy. Of course, you don't want to kind of like build completely downwards, but you want to build the energy up in a way that the impact here really hits. So you want to have less volume, you want to maybe do a break in the low end. So for example, you can start filtering out your kick and bass maybe like a little bit here towards the ends. That also drives up actually the motion, because taking out the lows will basically put away the masking from the lows and drive it more to the highs. And driving to the highs actually is also increasing is giving like a rising feeling. And then I have maybe risers and stuff. But then you want to create a little bit of a break. Or if you do a fill, then you at least don't want to make it louder than what hits after it. So check this out here. Because of that little break, the thing after it hits harder. And also here, you want to create some impact with like a good crash or some white noise effect or anything what kind of like explodes into the section. Yeah, you can also take some effect like a cool melodic shot here or a zap or something which you delay over into the next part. That can be a very strong impact as well. And then you can have it before here, but the same principle goes, you don't want to have it louder than what comes after it, because if you do that, then you have actually mostly like silence here, then you have your zap with the huge delay or your melody, and then it adds up with all the elements and becomes louder than what it was before. So really take care of that. And I would advise you, when you finish your track, you make this, you just loop this. Maybe you don't need to really loop this, but like start here, listen for the transition, then move to the next transition, listen to the next transition, and so on, and really evaluate, is it hitting as hard as it could? Because if the transition is not hitting hard, nothing else in that section later will really be as prominent and as good as it could be if you really have that slap, that impact in the beginning. You can also have the analyzer open to see if something really peaks higher. So for example, if your kick rolls peak higher than the kick, or if your meter exceeds the level which it has after. So really take care on those little transition things here. If you want to learn more about mixing Psytrance, then you can watch this video next, in which I explain on one example track how I mix my tracks.